Chairman UGC, and the moderator, Professor Manjushree Sardesh Pandey. It's my privilege to introduce the moderator of this session. Before introducing her, I will request Professor Surekha Dangwal, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Madam, to give bouquet to Professor M. Jagadesh Kumar, Chairman, University Grants Commission. Professor Dangwal. धन्यवाद मैडम। अब मैं आग्रह करूंगा प्रोफेसर कुसुम अरुणाचलम, डीन स्कूल ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट, to welcome our Professor Manjushree Sardesh Pandey. Professor Manjushree Sardesh Pandey is All India Vice President of Vidya Bharati, which is a writer, editor, translator, and teacher trainer. She is a PhD supervisor. She is into teaching since 1999. She has prepared textbooks for the subject English for all standards, KG to PG. She has authored several books and has translated Sri Ranga Hari's book Dharma or Sanskriti in English. She has won 2 RELO USA teacher scholarship. She is the erstwhile chairperson of English language. May I request ma'am to moderate this session, and I hand over this session to you. Thank you very much.
Hello. A very good afternoon. It's, I think, past 12. We've started at noon already because we all know that already it is the dawn of NEP 2020, and therefore we've moved into the implementation part. Yes, so a very good afternoon to one and all. And this is going to be a great session because here we have with us, it is indeed a proud privilege for me to introduce you. Actually, sir needs no introduction, but it's just a formality for me to introduce sir. He is an erudite, sagacious, a charismatic, and very, very industrious, I should say, chairman of UGC, Professor M. Jagadesh Kumar, sir. A big round of applause for sir. He's really been dynamic, and we've seen how many reforms have been undertaken, and we are progressing, we are making giant strides as far as NEP 2020 is concerned. Professor M. Jagadesh Kumar, born in 1962 in Mamidala village, Nalgonda district, Telangana, is an esteemed Indian academician and electrical engineer. He currently serves as the chairman of the University Grants Commission since February 2022. His educational background, actually, Professor Kumar earned his MSc and a PhD in electrical engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. He furthered his research through postdoctoral studies at the University of Waterloo, Canada. He is a professor in the Department of Electrical Engineering at IIT Delhi, where he continues to teach and conduct research. From January 2016 to February 2022, he served as the 12th Vice Chancellor of JNU, overseeing significant developments in the university's academic and administrative spheres. His research focuses on nanoscience and nanotechnology, including nanoelectronic devices, nanoscale device modeling, and power semiconductor devices. He has authored several books and numerous publications in these areas. He is the Fellow of the Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers, Fellow of the National Academy of Sciences, India, Fellow of the Indian National Academy of Engineering, Chairman of the governing body of the National Council of Science Museums, Ministry of Culture, Government of India. He is the recipient of the 29th IETE Ram Lal Wadhwa Gold Medal for distinguished contributions in semiconductor device design and modeling. He has been awarded the ISI VSI Techno Mentor Award for his significant role as a mentor and researcher. This is just a brief profile, and we all know, and we are all awaiting to hear from Sir. So, without wasting much time, I think we'll move on to this fireside chat session. Fireside actually, Sir, is an informal talk, but here we are going to have a discussion in depth and deliberations in depth regarding the UGC role, and as far as transformation of higher education is concerned, and we are moving towards a Vikasit Bharat. So the role of UGC, because as education plays a very important role in transformation, and UGC is the spinal cord. So we'll be discussing about it. First of all, we are here in Dehradun, and Dehradun is the abode of Dronacharya. And so I think it is a befitting place for us to have this deliberation on teaching and learning. And as far as Doon University is concerned, it is a center. It is a known, well-known, renowned center of education. And as far as Vidya Bharati is concerned, Vidya Bharati also is synonymous with quality education. So these are the two. Hello? Yes. I know you people are full of questions because the NEP 2020 has been implemented, and now we are into the implementation phase, and therefore there are people here who are representatives of the management, people, principals, directors, and people have so many queries. So I think Jagadesh Kumar sir is the right person for you to get your answers directly from what is happening at the central stage. So on behalf of Vidya Bharati, on behalf of the Doon University and Council of Science and Technology, I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, and before we begin with our interaction session, because there are so many things which have happened as far as UGC is concerned. So we are right now at the transitional stage. The vision and mission was already there. Now NEP has already been launched, and we are already working at different stages and phases. So how are we doing in this transition stage? So we would like to, because there are so many things happening, strategies are being made, and those are put up on the UTSA portal also. But we would like to listen to Sir first, and after that, we would start our question answer session. So it's really going to be interesting. Are you all get up? Okay, thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you, ma'am. Thank you. My namaskars to all of you. If I look around the hall and ask myself, what do I see here? I see people who are fully committed to transform our education system. My hats off to you and my namaskars to all of you. I like this format of question answer session and this informal way of conducting this program. डॉक्टर रावत जी ने कहा कि बहुत लंबे समय हम लेक्चर दिए तो धीरे धीरे आपको नींद आना शुरू होगा, लेकिन जब भी आपको नींद शुरू होता है उस समय आपके सामने एक मच्छर आया, मच्छर घूमते घूमते आवाज़ कर रहा है, तो आप बहुत अलर्ट हो जाएंगे. तो इसलिए मैं उधर से उठ के इधर खड़ा हूँ. आप समझ लीजिए मैं एक मच्छर हूँ. और डॉक्टर अर्चना शर्मा जी ने कहा साइंस को कभी भी मत भूल जाना. It's a very, very important statement that she made. Just yesterday, 2 of my colleagues in UGC, they superannuated. I told them, what could be a better day than yesterday, February 28th, to superannuate? It was National Science Day yesterday. We celebrated it. And I agree with you, Archana ji, we can never forget science and technology. That is going to be the foundation to build a self-reliant and globally competitive India. So the question is, what is the objective of pursuing science? Why do we pursue science? If you ask yourself this question, it will become very clear to us that the purpose of science is to enhance our perception of reality. That is the sole purpose of science. And often people think that scientists solve problems. It's a misnomer. Scientists actually don't solve problems. They create problems. I want to tell you a small story. A 20-year-old young student, he walked into the professor's room, and professor was doing something very seriously. And he asked, Madam, can you tell me 3 important problems in physics which were never solved? I want to solve them. So the professor looked at the student and she said, see, if you ever attended my lectures regularly, you would have known these 3 problems. I was always telling my students about these problems. I don't think I have any confidence in you, you will solve, but in any case, I will tell you these 3 problems. Then she said, number 1 problem, which is not solved yet in physics, is that how do you reconcile with the fact that the speed of light is constant, but the Maxwell's equations, there is a contradiction between how Maxwell's equations describe electromagnetic radiation and the fact that the speed of light is constant. How do you reconcile this contradiction? This is a question nobody is able to answer. Then she said, there is one more question. You know, light is emitted or absorbed in packets of energy. How do you reconcile that with the black body radiation? And the third question, how do you explain gravity as a phenomena of deformation in time and space? So this young fellow, as madam was telling these three questions, this young fellow wrote down this very quickly, jotted down, and went back his room, and he worked for years and years on these problems. And by the time he reached 40, he found the solutions, and he got a Nobel Prize. Can you name who that person was? Who that person was? He was Einstein. He was Einstein. Do you believe this story? If you have believed that such a thing has happened, I have completely fooled you. This story never happened. The reason why I told you is that when you pursue science, nobody ever gives you that these are the unsolved problems and then you try to find out solutions to these problems. It never happens. Einstein, when he was a young boy, he came across a paradox. If there is a beam of light, and if you travel along the beam of light at speed of light, what will you observe? You will observe the beam of light as a stationary standing wave. But that contradicts with Maxwell's description of electromagnetic radiation. Einstein thought the Maxwell's equations were wrong, and he spent a lot of time correcting the Maxwell's equations. He couldn't solve it. So one day, while coming back from his office, he put aside all his equations and he let his mind wander and wander. And suddenly it occurred to him that there is nothing wrong with the Maxwell's equations. Perhaps there is something wrong with our concept of time itself. And then he solved the problems. And this, letting our mind wander without any barriers, without any restrictions to find solutions, is called night science. In day science, you have fixed problems, you go to the lab, look through the microscope, or derive some equations and find a solution. But in night science, you let your mind wander, and that is when you come up with really innovative ideas. And the way we build knowledge, if I assume knowledge is like a wall of information, and some scientists find that one brick is missing in this wall, and then they keep working, and then they fix that brick. And that is what we call day science. You have a fixed problem, you find a fixed solution. But there are others who will look at these gaps, and then they come up with a solution, and that solution doesn't fit at all. Then we'll have to build another knowledge wall which is orthogonal to the existing knowledge. And that is what we call as a breakthrough. My dear friends, this is what we need to do in our educational system. We must encourage our students to think out of the box, not in the conventional way. When we implement the national education policy, when we tell our students, when we impart holistic education to our students, we must encourage them to think without fear. We must encourage them to make them challengers of existing knowledge, challengers of status quo. Most of the time, we impart education in a manner that makes our students conformists. And this is where a major change has to come in our educational system. One more thing that I would like to bring to your notice, that what is the purpose of education at all? Why do we want to educate our students? So, ma'am, I came across one incident where a morning walker was going in the park and two people were working on two big boulders. And this morning walker got a doubt, what is that these people doing in this park? And he went and asked the first person, sir, what are you doing? That fellow said, I am a sculptor. I am making a beautiful statue out of this stone. I see. Okay, let me find out what is the second person doing. But this time, the walker wanted to be a little bit more cleverer, and he said, sir, are you also a sculptor? So that person said, of course I am a sculptor. Are you making a statue? Well, I am only chipping away the unwanted material from this boulder so that the beautiful statue which is already there inside the boulder, it will come out. That is the purpose of education. To help our students to discover their inner potential which is already there. As teachers, as educators, we must question ourselves. Are we doing that? Are we creating an ecosystem inside the classroom and outside the classroom where our students will try, they will fail, and they will learn from it and self-discover themselves? This is where the challenge exists in our educational system. Now, in order to make our students self-discover themselves, the teachers play an important role. So this morning, when I was coming from the airport, Dr. Rajneesh, he was accompanying me, and he asked me, he is in the library. So he said, nowadays less number of people are coming to the library. The reading habits of people are going down. Students don't come to the library so often. What is that we can do? So I was telling him that as things change, as new technologies come, as our lifestyles change, we also have to change. As librarians, what is that new things that we can do so that we can retain the attention of our stakeholders? The same thing is true with the teachers. If a lecture is so boring, why would a student come? There is so much of information that is available to the students already. So can we reinvent ourselves? One day, I was going home from office in the evening. One young faculty came and he asked me, sir, I want to become a good teacher. What is that I need to do? Then I told him, don't become a good teacher. That is not our job. Our job is to create an ecosystem in the classroom so that our students will become the best learners. That is what we need to do as teachers. So today, the role of teachers has changed. We have to become mentors. We need to become co-travelers and co-discover things along with them. And that is how we can create that curiosity in their minds and make them the best learners and lifelong learners. Now, in the topic that we have, it is about transforming education to create Vikasit Bharat. Now, let us question ourselves. What is this Vikasit Bharat that we are all talking about? How will it look like? What is that we need to do to realize this Vikasit Bharat? I will give you few seconds, and in your mind, ask a question. What kind of future that you would like to have for yourself as an individual? What kind of future you would like to have? Take 10 seconds. It's a kind of meditation. Think about what kind of future you want to create for yourself? Now, I'm sure all of you must have thought about what kind of future you want to have. Now, even without asking any one of you what kind of future that you wanted to build, create for yourself, if I take an aggregate of all your thoughts and I summarize that, it would look like the following. How can I create a future which is secure, healthy, peaceful, and sustainable? This is the question that all of us are staring at. Because ultimately, whatever future that you wanted to have for yourself, and collectively, whatever future that we wanted to have for ourselves, this is the question that we need to address. How can we build a future that all of us want, which is sustainable, peaceful, healthy, and secure? Now, why is addressing such a question so difficult? It is so difficult because of the challenges that all of us are facing. Yesterday, there was a mishap that took place in our Dehradun, and we are seeing unusual weather patterns. Climate change is not somewhere outside, it is happening right in the midst of us. We have issues related to extreme poverty, multidimensional poverty, the economic systems becoming unstable, societies are becoming older. There are so many challenges that are surrounding us. And in the midst of these challenges, if we want to address this problem, this is going to be a challenge. And who can address this challenge to create a future which is sustainable, peaceful, healthy, and secure? It is only the young people who are sitting in this audience, who are there across our country. And it is our responsibility as seniors, as educators, to create an educational system where our students are not afraid of asking questions. Our students have an opportunity to learn things by doing, experiential learning. Our students have an opportunity not to focus only on one or two subjects, but have a broader understanding of different subjects while studying certain subject, majoring certain subject. These are all things that we need to create. And at the same time, when we want to find solutions, as I said in the beginning, to recollect what Dr. Archana Sharma said, that science and technology are going to be the foundation. We must ensure that the research ecosystem in our universities is strengthened. You all know that more than 90% of our students, they are in the university system. I come from the IIT system, but I know there is enormous talent in the university system. Are we doing enough to enhance the research ecosystem in our universities? This is a challenge in front of all of us. My dear friends, when we bring the reforms in the higher education, these reforms, the impact of these reforms on the ground will be seen only when leaders like you take the first step. Leaders like you are willing to take risks and implement them. But how will that happen? Recently, I was with a group of students, and during the discussion, I asked them, how many of you have used ChatGPT or similar AI tools. Almost every hand rose. And then I was with a group of teachers later in a discussion, and I asked them, how many of you use ChatGPT and similar AI tools? Very few hands rose. You can see the generation gap. And this is where, therefore, as teachers and leaders of education, we must skill and re-skill ourselves. We also have to be learners alongside with our students. Otherwise, our students will go ahead of us and we will be lagging behind. How can we inspire our students if our own basic knowledge is not strong enough? If I am not trying to be constantly a good learner, how will I be able to inspire my students? That is why I often tell when I meet the teachers that you should be like Jambavant. You remember Jambavant's story? When Angad, along with a group of monkeys and others, they were in search of Sita, they reached the edge of land, and beyond that there is a big ocean. They didn't know what to do. Everybody was crestfallen. And when Jambavant looked around, Hanuman was sitting in a corner, deeply lost in his thoughts. What to do? How do we cross this ocean? And Jambavant goes and tells Hanuman, Hanuman, you have enormous strength within yourself. Why do you think Lord Ram gave you this ring to you to pass on to Sita? Because he had enormous confidence in your strength. Come, get up. You can go to Lanka. Hanuman stands up. He becomes bigger, bigger, bigger. And then you know the rest of the story. That is how we should inspire our students to identify their inner strengths so that they become the best learners. And when they become best learners, when they become problem solvers, solution providers, then you can find answers to many of the challenges that we are facing. So therefore, my dear friends, as educational institutions, we all have a great responsibility in providing holistic education to our students so that they will address the challenges that humanity is facing. And ultimately, remember that nearly 1/5 of humans live in India. And the solutions that we find for the challenges that humanity is facing will become a template for the rest of the world. We will not only be building Vikasit Bharat as we are all envisioning, we will also become a role model for the rest of the world. So therefore, whenever we think about implementing the national education policy, think about the bigger picture. Think about how every small thing that you do in your university, every small reform that you are introducing in your university, it will have an impact not just on the life of the student, not just on your university, not just on our country, but it will have a global impact. That is why, friends, think about the bigger goal that we have in front of us. When you have your attention focused on the bigger goal, then you forget about smaller inconvenience that may come in your path. You remember, ma'am, running an airline business is very, very risky business. Most airlines make losses. But there is one particular airline, and this is one of the half a dozen airlines in the world which are making profits. I will not name the airline, but I will tell you what this airline does. When you travel low-cost, airline in India, in one particular airline you must have found that they supply to you not hot food, but cold food. This airline found that cold snacks, they don't heat it. This airline found that if you have to heat the food, you need an oven in the plane, and the oven weighs about 20 kilograms, and it also consumes electricity. So they got rid of these ovens from the plane, and the weight of the plane became less, and it consumes less fuel. Number one. Number two, in this particular airline, you will also find that the air hostesses are females. They found through calculations that the average weight of the 4 or 5 air hostess in the airline, in the plane, is higher than the average weight of the female air hostesses. So they employ only female air hostesses. And third, this particular airline, you might have noticed, if the takeoff time is 7:10, they actually take off at 7. And if the landing time is 8:30, they land at 8:20 itself. So the lesser time you spend in the air, you consume less fuel. And the lesser time you spend in flying, you can actually fly more aeroplanes and you can make more money. And you see, these are small things. Have you ever thought about these things? But this airline thought, and this is one of the most profit-making airline. It's very easy to say that airline business is very, very complicated, it's very risky, and raise your hand. But this particular airline found small things and tweaked them, and then they made it profitable. They didn't find these as a challenging thing. A similar thing, my dear friends, therefore, don't think about the problems that you may encounter. Think about the solutions that you can find to the problems that come in your way when you are implementing the national education policy. I would like to rest my case here and take questions from you and also the audience.
Thank you, sir. That was indeed very interesting, because that is how we want even students to get involved in whatever is being told. Sir, you talked about tapping the potential of students, and that is a very big thing, because, you know, where we have a population of 140 crore, and as far as higher education is concerned, when we talk about nearly 4 crore people, then tapping the potential of each and every child, each and every student, and when we have a digital divide also, so, and when we talk of mass education also, so how can we make this possible? Because though we have technology to our aid, but I think the teachers need to be very, very innovative, very, very dedicated, and what can be done to really go ahead and be innovative and tap the potential of each and every student?
You know, this word digital divide
Yeah.
is often used, but it's a misnomer.
Okay.
In our country, for example, close to about 900 million people use internet. Almost every youngster has a smartphone. The prices are coming down. The internet facilities are spreading. Every Gram Panchayat will have the fiber optic node, and from there the internet is being made available. So things are changing very fast. But the biggest challenge for us is not the technology, but it is the digital content. So how do we create this digital content which will be more interactive, more interesting to the students? And who will create this digital content? Only you and me. And again, therefore, the teachers have to become digital content creators rather than just the digital content consumers. So this is where the challenge lies today. The other aspect is that we have set a goal of making our GER, gross enrollment ratio, 50% by 2035. Currently, we have about 4.5 crore students in the higher education. And when you reach the GER of 50% in higher education alone, we will have close to 8 crores to 10 crores of students. And it took almost 70 to 80 years for us to create these 1,200 universities and 55,000 colleges. So in next 10 years, creating so many colleges and universities in physical reality is going to be a challenge. And that's the reason why we must move to alternate ways of imparting education to our students. And that's the reason why NEP 2020 puts a greater emphasis on online education. And UGC also has come up with many guidelines and reforms there, permitting the universities to start online courses. But of course, if you want to start online courses, then in the physical mode, the education that you are providing also has to be of certain standard. That means you have to go to the NAC and get your accreditation done, raise your standards of education in the physical mode itself before you embark on the online education. So these are all things that you must make sure it happens. One of the challenges that we see is that not many educational institutions are coming forward for this accreditation. Not many universities are coming forward. To tackle this psychological problem, I know why some of you would not like to come forward for NAC accreditation because of this grading on the scale of 0 to 4. Even minute changes, you may feel that some other institution has 3.52 and I have only 3.48. So these kind of things are coming. That is why the government has formed the Dr. Radhakrishnan's committee, and which came up with several reforms, and NAC is introducing these reforms, and soon we will have basic accreditation and maturity-based accreditation. Everybody can come for basic accreditation and test for yourself what is the quality of your education. And if you fail even in the basic accreditation, you will know the areas where you have to improve so that you come to the basic accreditation and move on from there to the more higher levels of maturity-based accreditation. So therefore, when I talk about digital education and reaching out to more students using alternate methods, we need to look at it more comprehensively. Providing online education is not a one-dimensional process, it's a multi-dimensional process. As I mentioned, improving your own infrastructure, improving your own accreditation, grading, and training your teachers to be they should develop the competency to create digital content, interesting digital content, and then launch the online programs. So it's a multi-dimensional challenge for all of us.
Yeah, but thinking and inculcating quality programs, it's really a very big challenge even for the institutions and teachers, because there is a generation of teachers who are really not techno-savvy and very reluctant to really adopt all the reforms which have been advocated.
Right.
So
right.
It is a very big challenge.
It's also a challenge because, as you know, my dear friends, in many of the state universities, there are huge vacancies. And we have mostly contractual teachers there. Obviously, because their job future is uncertain, they will not be able to focus more on research and teaching. So therefore, it is also the responsibility of the state governments to make sure that young people are brought into the university system and the vacancies are filled as soon as possible.
There is another question which comes to my mind as far as skill education is concerned. There are many people coming to our colleges offering credit-based, skill-based courses. Right. And those are all short-term and maybe certificate courses, diploma courses. But with the children earning at this, because we also advocate earn while you learn. So when they start earning money, do you think that, because they will be equipped with the skills, but do you think they will they will not be inclined to go in for higher education because they start earning at a very early age?
You know, if I look at the entire student body as a pyramid, at the top of the pyramid, you have small percentage of students who can crack the toughest entrance exams and join in the best institutions. You also have a small percentage of students at the top of pyramid who have all the financial means wherever they want to go. But when you come down to the bottom of the pyramid, most of these students, they come from rural background, they come from socially, economically weaker sections. So for them, the main concern is how do I take care of my family? How do I ensure that my brother and sister are also admitted in a school? So financial support is very, very important in their lives, and that's why they look for jobs. But are we providing the kind of education that will help them to get either self-employed or seize the newer opportunities that are coming? Now, if we self-introspect about it, most of the time we are only doling out the degrees to these students. Friends, nearly 70% of our student population in the universities, they study BA, BSc, BCom. At the end of BA, BSc, BCom, what is going to be their future? What kind of employment can they get? And as education is, to introspect yourself, you know their future. And this is where, ma'am, therefore, UGC has come up with the two schemes. And these frameworks allow the universities to assign at least 50% of the total credits in a degree program exclusively for skill education. And the remaining 50% of the students can use to focus on majoring in a particular discipline. Let's say I'm a BA history student, I'm interested in ancient history. I can major in ancient history, but in the remaining credits, maybe I will do 20 credits in logistic management, 20 credits I will do in banking, 20 credits I will do in insurance. You know, out of 1.4 billion Indians in India, there are only 5% of Indians who are insured. There is a huge insurance market which needs to be tapped. And now when the insurance companies are looking for insurance professionals, they don't find. And it's our responsibility, therefore, when we want to become the third largest economy in the world, there is going to be a need for millions of auditors, millions of accountants. Are our universities providing this kind of expertise to our students? And that's the reason why in the next few months, we are going to announce on a portal called Swayam Plus multiple kinds of skill-based courses so that your students can register those courses, and through academic bank of credits, these courses can be transferred to the institution and they will become part of their degree program. The advantage of this is the student doesn't have to spend extra time and effort to acquire these skills. They will get both a degree with a major as well as skills in multiple areas. So I urge all the leaders of the educational institutions to please read the guidelines that UGC has already issued and work with your academic council, with your executive council, and introduce these courses to your students so that they become skillful and employable. And one more scheme that we have introduced is the Apprenticeship Embedded Degree Program. It's the Apprenticeship Act is very old, but it hasn't become very useful in our university system because of ourselves. As regulators, we were so rigid. We never provided any flexibility to the universities, even if you wanted to bring some changes. But fortunately, because of NEP 2020, as regulators, we ourselves have transformed into facilitators. And we want the universities to bring a lot of flexibility and innovation so that our students are benefited. I would like to ask, and you don't have to raise your hand, how many of you have read the guidelines on apprenticeship embedded degree programs issued by UGC? And how many of you have started making plans to see that this apprenticeship embedded degree program is introduced in your university? How many of you, as a preparation to this program, discussed with the local industries, found out their requirements and sat with them across the table and designed this apprenticeship embedded degree program? If you have not yet done, please do so. And if you have not yet done, and if you are hearing about apprenticeship embedded degree program guidelines of UGC for the first time, my dear friends, we need to do a lot of groundwork. You need to remain very alert. We need to do a lot of homework. Only then reforms will come. Thank you for reminding her.
No, 10 minute nahi hai, we have time till 1:30. So we have time, and we'll move on to the audience also. And because we are interested.
The audience is already appearing very aggressive.
Yeah. So we start with the audience. Yes, you can go ahead and ask questions. Yes, yes.
सर मेरा नाम सुशील उपाध्याय है और मैं एक एडिट कॉलेज में प्रिंसिपल के रूप में काम करता हूं। आपकी हिंदी बहुत खूबसूरत है सर, पहली बात तो ये।
बहुत धन्यवाद।
मेरा छोटा सवाल ये है सर कि यूजीसी जितने भी रेगुलेशंस को निर्धारित करती है या पॉलिसीज को लेकर जो काम करती है, वो ज़्यादातर अर्बन को या जो विकसित भारत है उसको लेकर फोकस करती है। इसका एक उदाहरण है कि जैसे उत्तराखंड जैसा राज्य है जिसकी भौगोलिक परिस्थितियां बहुत कठिन हैं, तो क्या कोई समानांतर पॉलिसीज की जरूरत है जो उत्तराखंड जैसे या जो कम विकसित और पहाड़ी प्रकृति के राज्य हैं, कि जितनी जैसे अभी आपने जो ड्राफ्ट जारी किया है जो मिनिमम क्वालिफिकेशंस का, तो वो सारी क्वालिफिकेशंस ऐसी है कि वो दिल्ली को, चेन्नई को, हैदराबाद को, उनको तो सूट करेंगी, या जैसा आदरणीय माननीय मंत्री जी ने संकेत किया कि 20 एकड़ लैंड या 25 एकड़ लैंड पहाड़ में कहां से आएगी, या 35 लाख की या 15 लाख की सिक्योरिटी एक बीए प्रोग्राम शुरू करने के लिए कहां से आएगी? तो मेरी रिक्वेस्ट ये है सर कि क्या पैरेलल पॉलिसीज के बारे में कभी सोचा गया कि एक पॉलिसीज उस भारत के लिए हो जो अर्बन सोसाइटी है, हाईली क्वालिफाइड है और पहले से उस जगह पर है जहां आप सोचते हैं, और एक सोसाइटी वो है जिसको हम रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। थैंक यू सो मच।
नहीं, जो रिफॉर्म्स हम ला रहे हैं ये सभी पूरा भारत के लिए है, ऐसा नहीं है कि अर्बन के लिए कुछ है, रूरल के लिए कुछ है। आप यूजीसी ड्राफ्ट रेगुलेशंस के बारे में बताया कि ऐसा लगता है कि many of the features there are meant for teachers who are working in urban areas. It's not like that. We have introduced a lot of flexibility there. Earlier, the focus was more on publishing only papers, but now we are saying you can write books, you can write book chapters, you can develop technologies, you can get patents, and we have also introduced notable contributions. Out of 9 notable contributions, you must demonstrate that you have contributed at least in 4 areas, and these are possible across the country, irrespective of rural or urban areas. And with respect to the minimum land area that is required, let me tell you that earlier it was 50 acres minimum, and then we formed an expert committee, and the committee said that let us make from 50 to 40 acres and let us wait for next 10-15 years and see how things go, and then we will reduce. Then we had discussions and we convinced the expert committee, no, it's not like that. Let's go down to 20 in the areas where land is available, and to 10 where it is difficult to get land. But if there are further difficulties there, I think as a regulator we need to remain flexible. We must listen to the challenges faced by the stakeholders and then relook at some of these things. And we will definitely relook at the land requirements if there are challenges in certain parts of the country.
Hello.
Right.
Hello.
One is known as influential economy zone, then potential economy zones, and aspirational economy zones. as Ministry of Urban and Planning Ministry, which has been classified the cities into like that, accordingly you define the norms for them, the institution established in those zones.
Right.
Actually, I feel that the influential economy, because we already NEP 2020 has categorized research universities, and as well as second is teaching universities. Third is autonomous college they mentioned. I wish that it should be skill universities.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If that skill universities are there in the aspirational zone, as you said, the bottom range, the rural people will benefit it for livelihood and employment.
Right.
The second, they can, if any intelligent student is there, he can move to the district headquarters, which is considered as a potential economy zones. So then teaching aspirant. Then higher level, they can go to state capitals,
Right,
which
sir.
will be research
Right.
based universities.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Questions,
Hello.
suggestions, you can always email to me.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, my name
Hello,
is
sir.
Kapil Goyal. I have a question related to the which you have done in the Rajasthan, getting the lot of fake degrees there.
Okay.
But I have read the report of the AS Barar committee of that university in the, I think 12 years back. They have written that this university is not good for awarding the PhD degree.
Okay.
But still they are awarding the degree for the 10 year. And UGC have taken the action after the 10 year. So you did good thing, but I have one suggestion on that.
Right.
If we will make a collaboration with the vigilance team or your CBI team for that in the education system, UGC can collect a lot of money from the institution when they will give the affiliation to them. You have to start and make their vigilance department that will control all the examination audit. Because you are
Right.
having a online degree program also, you are having some correspondence program also, but examination system is common for all the awarding the degrees. So we have to develop a system which can audit the examination regularly on the basis of 3 months, 4 months or 1 year. So that may be a
Sir, if you look at NEP 2020, it talks about all regulations should be light but tight. You know, our education system will grow only when we give them enough autonomy and freedom. We should not be looking at the educational institutions with suspicion. We should not always be micromanaging these institutions. That is not the way the educational institutions will grow. And that's the reason why we are giving a lot of freedom and flexibility to the educational institutions. And there has to be self-regulation also. And the role of UGC is that if there are violations, then only we will step in instead of constantly monitoring and then bring in vigilance teams and all that. Education system doesn't grow like that. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Professor Ibohul Meiti from Manipur University, Professor of Management. This question to you is regarding the startup and various other entrepreneurship ecosystem, the academia, and the industry alignment.
Right.
So from that perspective, I just would like to know from you, how do you encourage the faculty members joining in this kind of a startup and entrepreneurship ecosystem for enhancing the employability of our students and the faculty members, whether they can just take up some startup venture as a promoter, as a part of the managing team, wherein
Excellent.
their works, etc., can also
Right.
be
Right.
continuing without affecting the academic norms and encouraging more number of new ventures to come up.
Very nice. Now, very good suggestion and also question. See, what has happened is that, establishing startup companies, developing new technologies, getting patents, it was never aspirational in our university system. But now in the new UGC draft regulations, we have introduced this also. If some teacher has established a startup company, that can be considered as a notable contribution for either selection or in the promotions. So we need to make these activities aspirational. And also, it is not just enough to have a startup company or develop some technologies. You also need to have good collaboration with the industry. The first step is to appoint some POPs in your university system so that you have better communication channels between industry and your universities. The industry professionals also will understand what are your strengths based on which collaborations can be built. So we are on the right path, but we need to scale up our efforts. Right. Right.
और एक दूसरा क्वेश्चन है जिस तरह से हम स्टूडेंट्स की मार्कशीट जनरेट करते हैं नेट में जो आज ही हो रहा है इसमें जो एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं इनकी भी क्या मार्कशीट किसी तरीके से क्या इनको किस फील्ड में किस तरीके के मार्क्स मिले हैं क्या इस तरह का भी सिस्टम जनरेट होगा क्योंकि एम्प्लॉय जो वहाँ वर्क कर रहे हैं उनको वो फैसिलिटी वहाँ नहीं मिल पाती है यूजीसी का इन दोनों चीजों के बारे में क्या विचार है अगेन मैं आपको साधुवाद देता हूँ इतिहास आपको सदैव याद करेगा आपके अच्छे कार्यों के लिए
Thank you. But the question that he has raised is a very, very important question. Can we give some marks, some rating for the universities? Sir, actually, a university is a very complex system. And it is a social organization. You are contributing to the betterment of the society. You cannot just reduce the performance of the university to some marks out of 100 you got 90 or 80. Especially, recently I was in a university which is located in a district where nearly 60% of the population is tribals. And this university faculty, they work with the tribal population and use the local technologies and materials and establish startup companies. And those tribal ladies, they have become self-reliant because of the contributions made by the university to the tribal community there. Now, if you ask them, are you in the top 100, 200 of the world rankings, they will not be there. But they are transforming the lives of people. So therefore, all universities cannot be put on one single scale and say you are 82, you are 100, you are 90 and so on. And that's the accreditation. NAC is coming up with some reforms to see what are the objectives for this, for which the university has been established, whether the university is able to achieve those objectives, and accordingly you accredit the university.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm Sanjay from Government Degree College, Haldwani City.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I have got two such suggestions. I have to get two suggestions from you. One, that is the generation has been transformed. What we talk about the Gen Z. Now, they are absent from the physical classes.
Okay.
Our classroom is absent. So, मैं ये चाहता हूँ कि आप ये सजेस्ट करें कि उनको हम ब्रिंग बैक कैसे करें, क्योंकि जो टेक्नोलॉजिकल डिसरप्शंस हैं वो हमें डेली मॉडिफाई कर रहे हैं और हम ये चीज देख रहे हैं कि नाउ चैट जीपीटी और डीप सीक के थ्रू हमें आंसर शीट्स आ रही हैं। तो ये क्या टीचिंग टूल है या चीटिंग टूल है, ये तो डिफरेंट एक डिस्कशन है। दूसरा फॉर्मेट ये है सर, जो डिजिटल डिवाइड की बात जो मैडम ने कही, उसके तहत हम जो माइक्रो मैनेजर्स हैं, बिकॉज आप तो बहुत मैक्रो लेवल पर चीजों को देख रहे हैं, आप पैन इंडिक व्यू है आपका, लेकिन जो माइक्रो लेवल पे हम देख रहे हैं तो उसमें जो डिजिटल फ्रेमवर्क हमारा है, जो हमारा मैट्रिक्स बनेगा, कोर मैट्रिक्स, वो कॉलेज को हैंड होल्ड कब होगा? जब तक वो कॉलेज को हैंड होल्ड नहीं होगा तब तक हम ज्यादा ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ला नहीं पाएंगे। तो इसलिए हमारा इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का एस्पेक्ट जो है वो आप पर ही ज्यादा झुकता है सर। थैंक यू सो मच सर।
See, it is both a philosophical question and also, a reality, putting mirror to the reality. It is true that there is so much of information available, so many tools that are available. Students may not find it very interesting to come to the classroom. So that is why in the beginning I said that as teachers we must reinvent ourselves. If I put myself in the shoes of the student, will I go to my teacher's lecture? We should question ourselves. If myself don't feel like going there, then what needs to be done? And that's the reason why we are telling that you must introduce various kind of teaching modes to keep the students engaged, to provide more experiential learning to them, to, to make the learning process more beneficial to the students. Only then they will come. And the AI tools that are coming, they can perform much better than a traditional teacher. So therefore, where is the need for the teacher? This is a philosophical question that we are all looking at. We need to work out solutions to this.
Sir, namaskar.
Yeah.
Sir, I am Dr. Himanshu Bose. I work the registrar in IGNOU. I think, sir, IGNOU is the world's largest university in terms of enrollment of students. So recently, whenever we have been enrolling students, we faced a very peculiar problem because the UGC had made the day by day mandatory for enrollment for taking admissions from the January 2025 session.
Right.
IGNOU is it's the only university which enrolls and imparts free education to jail inmates. So the jail inmates do not have Aadhaar card. So day by day is based on ABCID. ABCID is linked to the Aadhaar card. So since the jail inmates do not have an Aadhaar card, so they do not have a ABCID, they cannot have a day by day, and so their enrollment would not be done. This
Okay.
is number one. Number two,
Okay.
sir,
Yeah.
and we
No,
face
no,
also
no.
problems
We'll-
about females also.
We will work out a solution. We will discuss about it separately, and we will work out a solution.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
मैं आशुतोष शरण प्रिंसिपल गवर्नमेंट डिग्री कॉलेज चक्राता
Yeah. You are on which side?
सर
Where are you?
Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
one of my colleagues raised a question of rural and urban division. You have been in IIT, there are tier 1 colleges, then there are tier B colleges, and then the rest of the colleges, we can rate them like that. You have been talking about the research. In a subject, one specializes, and then there is further specialization in that particular subject. Like I've been a teacher of history before becoming principal. My question is like Professor Romila Thapar. She never teaches any medieval or modern paper. Dr. Bipan Chand never teaches or never taught about ancient India.
Right, sir. Could you ask your question?
Yeah, but when there is one faculty, how can we generate research-related work when you have to cover all the papers of that subject according to the syllabus and impart it to the student? How the research work can be made innovative, or it can be generated or imparted? My question is that.
Right. So all that I can say is that it is not impossible. It is possible, and I have seen examples of people who are involved in administration, who are involved in teaching, but they are also doing outstanding research work. If my own colleague can do that, why can't I do that? We can also do that, right? Let us not raise our hands and say that we cannot do. That is not the way to progress. Let us commit ourselves to overcome the barriers and then do the best things that we can do.
सर प्रणाम, मैं राकेश शुक्ला वीएसएसटी कॉलेज कानपुर से हूँ. मेरे सर 2 प्रश्न हैं. पहला प्रश्न ये है कि हम संबद्ध कॉलेज हैं और विश्वविद्यालय ने 2 बार परीक्षाएं कराने का जैसे सेमेस्टर सिस्टम है, वो फीस का बहुत जबरदस्त उन्होंने एक प्रेशर डाल दिया है जो कि हमें वसूलना होता है विद्यार्थियों से, जिससे छात्र संख्या बिल्कुल घटती जा रही है. दूसरी समस्या यह है कि कुछ कॉलेजों को परीक्षा केंद्र बना दिया जाता है. जो संकाय जो विषय हमारे नहीं है उनकी भी अब परीक्षाएं कराते हैं 1.5-2 महीने, और पूरे वर्ष हम लोग परीक्षाएं कराते रहते हैं. और जो कॉलेज सेंटर नहीं होते हैं उनके विद्यार्थी परीक्षा देते रहते हैं और उन कॉलेज के जो टीचर्स घर बैठे रहते हैं. एक तो ये समस्या है. तो इसको कैसे समाधान किया जाएगा? दूसरा हमारा प्रश्न ये है सर कि जिस तरह से उच्चतर शिक्षा सेवा आयोग
These exams are semester exams, university exams, or entrance exams?
सर यूनिवर्सिटी के द्वारा हमारे एग्जाम कराए जाते हैं, सेमेस्टर एग्जाम्स.
Okay.
जी. और कॉलेजों को कराना होता है वो परीक्षाएं. दूसरा सर प्रश्न ये है कि जिस तरह से उच्चतर शिक्षा सेवा आयोग और लोक सेवा आयोग के द्वारा हमारे जो कॉलेजेस हैं उनमें जो फैकल्टी मेंबर्स उनका चयन होता है, लेकिन विश्वविद्यालयों में अभी भी जो नियुक्तियां हैं वो कुलपति की कृपा से ही हो पाती हैं, और अब तो एपीआई सिस्टम भी खत्म किया जा रहा है. तो क्या इस तरह का जैसे भारतीय प्रशासनिक सेवा की जो परीक्षाएं हैं, क्या उस तरह का कोई ऐसा सिस्टम बनाया जाएगा जिसके द्वारा उस परीक्षा के द्वारा ही हमारे जो प्राध्यापक हैं उनका चयन हो, ताकि वहां पर भी किसी प्रकार से कुलपति की कृपा पर नियुक्तियां संभव न हो पाए, जैसा कि कॉलेज में होने लगा है। इसलिए विश्वविद्यालयों में निरंतर गुणवत्ता में कमी आती जा रही है लगातार, और बल्कि हमारे कॉलेज की फैकल्टी उनसे ज्यादा योग्य है जो विश्वविद्यालय में है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, अगर इस पर आप भी विचार करें।
No, I completely agree with you that any selection has to be fair and transparent. It should not be based on the whims of any individual. That is why in the UGC regulations we have defined the composition of the selection committee, and the experts, the 3 subject experts who come from different universities, they will actually give the input about your contributions to the selection committee, and then the promotion or the selection will happen. And that's how it should happen. And if it is not happening, if it is happening in a different way, that is very unfortunate. It should not happen like that. Right.
Sir, my name is Saurabh Sharma, Deputy Registrar, Punjab Technical University, Punjab. So my question is, you just talked about the ecosystem, creating and facilitating that ecosystem out of which students can realize their real potential.
Right.
My question is, how can we educational institutions can ensure that the product, the student which will come out of that ecosystem is having good value system and ethical for the societies also. So we have introduced a course 10 years back, value education and professional ethics, that has brought results, but not that much results which were, we were expecting.
Right.
So what would be your take on this? Thank you.
So it's a clear example that values cannot be taught through courses. Values, if you are offering some courses in values, it will provide them some awareness. Values can only be imparted by practice. For example, if I am a university, the way I deal with my students, the student is constantly learning how the administration is working. Is the student treated properly? If there are grievances to the students, are they addressed? Are you ensuring that the required facilities are provided to the students? Then they will realize that when my university is functioning in a responsible way, as an individual, I also should function in a responsible way. So therefore, sir, when we talk about values, let us not imagine them in isolation and expect that as a tablet or as a medicine we will give the values to the students. As a teacher, for example, am I doing my job properly? Am I going to my classes on time? Am I announcing my results properly on time? Do I follow care ethics, or am I too strict? Am I considerate to my students? See, whenever you enter the classroom, 100 eyes are looking at you. The way you walk into the classroom, the way you conduct yourself in the classroom, how you respond to the students, whether you are a kind person, whether you are a disciplinarian, whether you just cut off the student from asking questions. These are all small details which will go a long way in imparting values to the students. So as I again, I told you in the beginning that don't look at the problems in isolation. Look at the problem in more comprehensively, and then you find that you're also part of that problem. And I also had to change myself. Only then I can impart values to others.
Good afternoon, sir.
Right.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Chinnavan Bhaskar from Central University.
You're on the left side?
I'm here.
You are here. Yeah.
Thank you for your wonderful, inspirational discussion. Sir, I have questions regarding the UGC care list. As you know very well that UGC regulation clearly defined that there are 3 categories. One is Web of Science journal, another one is Science Journal Impact Factor. Second, whichever the journals are not coming under the impact factor, let it be 0 or it's approved, then UGC care list was held. Now the recent information regarding UGC care list, they are defining the thing.
Right.
My humble request is that if a university we are giving option, for example, top institution like IITs, NITs, Central University, yes, they are well established the leadership of the Vice Chancellor, we can able to proceed. Is it will work out for all the undergraduate students? What my request is that, humble request is the UGC better refined the UGC care list, again you give the option, these are the lists, so that it will be clear for the every organization can follow the system. This is my.
First of all, sir, I would like to, express this view that as a university, I should not feel that, oh, IIT is some big institution, they can do, but we cannot do. As a university, as a college, I should also aspire to become like an IIT or even better than IIT. Now, as an academician, tell me, is it required for anybody to advise you in which journal to publish? As an academician, as a senior academician, as a researcher, are you not in a position to find out which journal is a better journal to publish your research or not? Now, most senior academicians, they don't need any advice. They are well experienced. Now, when you go down, yes, your PhD student may not find. But what is my job as a senior academician? I should be able to advise my PhD student, this is a good journal where you can publish. This is not a good journal, it's a predatory journal. You don't publish. So shouldn't we have this kind of mentoring system within the universities and guide our younger research scholars so that they publish in reasonably good journals? Why do we need a central body like UGC to tell, no, these are the only good journals where you can publish? Is it not, degrading my own, intellectual capabilities as an academician? So, and then let me also add this point. In the UGC care list, do you know how many journals are there? Only 900 journals. And out of those 900 journals, we found that 30% of the journals are actually dubious journals, but they somehow got into UGC care list. And I will give you an example of one particular subject, economics. In UGC care list, in economics, there are only 9 or 10 journals. But across the country, there are thousands and thousands of PhD students who are doing PhD in economics. Do you expect them to publish only in these 9 journals? Now, the argument that comes is, why don't you expand this 900 to some 9,000 or 90,000 journals so that we will publish there? The basic philosophical question I am asking is, as an educational institution, as an academic community, you should have the freedom to decide where you want to publish. Somebody else should not be prescribing to you that these are the journals that is where you can publish. This is my answer to your question.
Sir, I completely agree with you, sir. We know that which journals are important, which things. The questions are coming in that regarding the recruitment. API score is already clearly mentioned that according to the UGC regulation, the categories are 3 categories.
There is no API score.
Now refined.
We have also moved away from these quantitative measures. You know the disadvantage of API. Everybody was only chasing to accumulate these API points. We want a qualitative assessment of the candidates, and not a quantitative putting some number to your performance. That is why the API is removed. So now you decide. Now the challenge is that just as our colonial mind works, our colonial mind thinks that without English we cannot survive. That's not true. Most nations, developed nations, they use their own mother tongue to educate their kids, right from class 1 to PhD. Today, when we talk about bringing Indian languages as a medium of instruction in our higher educational institutions, there are some people who resist that. No, what will happen to the employment opportunities? Where will we publish? All cutting edge research is reported in English. This is the colonial mindset. Similarly, for a long time, our universities are so used to top-down control by UGC and regulators. Today, when we are batting for you to give freedom, you are saying, no, don't give so much of freedom. You confine us only in these things. I think we need to come out of this mindset. Just as we are coming out of this colonial mindset, we should, as academicians, we should bat for freedom. We should. everywhere changes will come. See, we removed the care list only very recently. NAC and everything will take care of this and provide as much freedom to the faculty and the universities so that you can innovate, you can experiment and take our higher education to the highest levels possible.
Thank you very much, sir, for your freedom. We'll follow it up. Since there are a lot of the issues, one side freedom is there, another side restriction is there. If everything come in a single uniform policy, it will be helpful for the academician.
Correct. I agree with you. I agree with you.
सर को दीजिए, यहाँ पे दीजिए.
See, as we keep implementing NEP 2020, when we encounter some of these challenges at the ground level that you are suggesting, we will sit with you, we will try to find out solutions together. It's a collective journey for all of us, right?
Sir, actually, I have a very small question to you as you are the chief mentor of higher education in India. Why UGC has almost dropped funding the UGC process projects?
University Grants Commission that grants, we no longer give any grants other than providing support to the central universities and providing the scholarships. This change came from the 12th plan. 12th plan ended in 2017, and after that most of the funding was shifted to other organizations. Now we have the NRF, National Research Foundation. So all funding, especially to the university system, will come from NRF.
Actually, sir, young faculty member initially used to get very good number of research projects. Because say, or as a senior faculty, as a vice professor, I can get bigger project from the other funding agencies. But being the mentor apex agency of this country, UGC can rethink about this to fund this young faculty members minor projects.
Right. I think although you have asked this question, I am sure many people may have the same question. So thank you for asking this question. Now, NEP has suggested that there are multiple regulators in our country, and it's better to have a single regulator such as the Higher Education Commission of India. As part of that, one vertical is the research funding vertical. So NRF has already come, and then the other three verticals, you will have a standard setting vertical, you will have the accreditation vertical, you will have the regulatory vertical where all the other regulators will be part of that. So once these reforms come, you will see that the funding that was coming earlier through UGC will now come through NRF. Right? Yeah.
Sir, I have a question.
Where are you? Please raise your hand. That lady.
Yes.
You just
let us
1
give
minute,
to
sir.
her.
Just let her talk.
Yeah.
Just 1 minute.
नमस्कार सर.
Yeah.
मेरा नाम साक्षी पुंडीर है और मैं रिसर्च स्कॉलर हूँ दून यूनिवर्सिटी से. मेरा क्वेश्चन अगेन यूजीसी के लिस्ट से रिलेटेड है. जैसे कि आपने अभी सर के क्वेश्चन के जवाब में बात बताई कि आपने हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस को अब ये फ्रीडम दी है, वो पैरामीटर सेट करेंगे यूजीसी के लिस्ट जर्नल्स के लिए. मेरा क्वेश्चन सर ये है कि हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन को अगर ये फ्रीडम मिली है तो हमारे पास ऐसे एग्जांपल भी है जैसे कि रिसेंटली राजस्थान की यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के एग्जांपल आए हैं. तो इसके लिए मतलब हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन ये पैरामीटर सेट करेंगे, लेकिन इंस्टीट्यूशन की क्रेडिबिलिटी पे भी यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन उठता है कि क्या इंस्टीट्यूशन सही कर रहा है. दूसरी चीज़, जैसे कि आपके FAQs में भी आया है कि फैकल्टी मेंबर्स यंग रिसर्चर्स को इसके लिए गाइड करेंगे कि कौन सा जर्नल सही है, कौन सा नहीं है. लेकिन ऐसे बहुत से क्लोन जर्नल है या प्रेडिटरी जर्नल है जहाँ पे मैंने खुद सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटीज के प्रोफेसर्स के रिसर्च पेपर्स वहाँ पे देखे हैं. तो दिस इज आल्सो अ बिग प्रॉब्लम एंड ऑफ कोर्स मतलब आप, मेरा सवाल यही है कि इसके लिए रोकथाम क्या होगी.
Right. So, see, assume for a moment that she is vice chancellor of a university, and when somebody publishes in a predatory journal, she selects that faculty. What will happen to the reputation of that university? So as a head of institution, therefore, you have to be extremely careful while selecting the faculty members. Now, even if good faculty are selected over a period of time, if they are publishing in predatory journals, what will happen to your IQAC cell? The IQAC cell, the responsibility of the IQAC cell is to maintain quality in various aspects of the functioning of the university. Research is one of them. So the Vice Chancellor, IQAC should sit with that faculty and tell that faculty that, this is not the way to publish. If you continue to publish, you will not get promotions. So there has to be a self-corrective mechanism, ma'am. It cannot be always only from top-down approach. UGC as a regulator should only give broad frameworks, and within those frameworks, the universities have to come up with your own internal processes to improve the quality of research.
Sir, let me.
And let me also tell you that if you look around the globe or within our own country, the best institutions are those who have a self-regulatory mechanism, who feel that they are accountable to maintain the quality of research and teaching in their institutions. You cannot outsource this responsibility to an outside agency and say, you keep monitoring, and as long as you monitor, we will function properly, and if you don't monitor, we will go down the drain. No, it cannot happen like that.
Namaste, sir.
We just have 5 minutes. Yeah, yes, sir, go ahead.
Sir, here, sir. Namaste, sir. Myself, Professor Parag Joshi from Kalidas Sanskrit University, Maharashtra. My small question is regarding the gross enrollment ratio which you have mentioned in your speech, that विकसित भारत के लिए हमें GR बढ़ाने की जरूरत है. But generally it is observed that when we focus on the quantity increase, somewhere we have to compromise with the quality. As quality goes down, there are so many reasons: lack of recruitment, as you mentioned, that state universities are lacking behind that, lack of digital content, and so many other resources are also not available. So how can we come up with the quantity without compromising the quality? There is a big question. So
What quantity?
Quantity of enrollment, GER ratio.
See, the issue is that our GER is only 28 or so. That means for every 100 students in the age group of 18 to 23, nearly 72 of them are going back to their home, to their village. It is our responsibility to make sure that they are also provided with good education so that they become skillful, they become employable, they contribute to the economic growth of our country. Sir, many of the students who come from such background, they are first-time learners in the family. Is it not our responsibility to make sure that the infrastructure of our university is used 24/7 to reach out to their students? And that's the reason why we have said that universities can admit the students twice in a year. What stops our universities from running 2 shifts, for example, and reach out to as many students as possible? Only when we transform their lives, our country can be transformed. So it's the biggest responsibility that we have on our mind, on our shoulders.
That was my question. Just I will sum up. So when we are going to increase the quantity, we have to compromise with the quality, as there are lack of resources. That was the matter.
Why do you say? I teach classes where I have 250 students in my class. How many students do you have in your class?
Sir, around 30, but
Around 30?
ideal ratio.
I teach 250 students in the class,
But the quality
and I have no doubt that the quality has suffered. The moment the quality suffers, my students will be on their feet. Right? So don't think about always the problems that we are facing. As I said, try to find solutions. Don't give up.
सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है, मैं उत्तर प्रदेश से आता हूँ, लखनऊ से। सर इधर सर यहाँ।
Yes, sir.
Just this last question. Already, it's 1:30.
मैं एक डिग्री कॉलेज में कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअल टीचर हूँ। हमारे यहाँ 3 प्रकार के टीचिंग सिस्टम चलती है, एक पार्ट टाइम, एक कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअल, एक परमानेंट। पार्ट टाइम 5-6 महीने के लिए रखा जाता है, जिसको 8 या 10 हजार रुपया दिया जाता है। कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअल 20 या 22 या 15 हजार जैसा चलता है, और जो परमानेंट होता है उसको, तो सर मैं 2012 से पढ़ा रहा हूँ, मैं अगर कहीं अप्लाई करता हूँ तो वहाँ ये दिया जाता है 57,700 मिलेगा, तभी तुम एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर के लिए अप्लाई कर सकते हो। सर इस पे कोई ऐसा नियम बनाया जाए कि अगर पैसा नहीं मिल रहा है, एक्सपीरियंस तो मिले, एक्सपीरियंस जिससे हम एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर के लिए अप्लाई तो कर सकें। सर ये सिस्टम को खत्म करना चाहिए कि कोई पार्ट टाइम टीचर है, कोई कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअल टीचर है, कोई परमानेंट टीचर है। सर सबसे ज्यादा काम पार्ट टाइम और कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअल टीचर करता है, एग्जाम से लेकर कॉपी चेक से लेकर सारा काम वो करता है।
Right.
सर ना उसको पैसा मिलता है ना एक्सपीरियंस मिलता है। सर इस पे प्लीज ध्यान दिया जाए, और उत्तर प्रदेश में ये सबसे ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम है, इस पे कोई ध्यान नहीं दे रहा है। मैं आपके चाहता हूँ आप इस पे ध्यान दीजिए।
तो ये एक्सपीरियंस के बारे में हम बहुत डिस्कस किया यूजीसी में। हाँ,
ये 57 साल से हटा दिया जाए कि नहीं, ये 57 साल को तभी एसोसिएट अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। प्लीज इसको बहुत उससे ध्यान दीजिए।
right.
Sir, I have a
Thank you for the suggestion.
last question, sir. Here,
No,
this side.
no, but she
Sir,
wants to ask.
Sir, I have one only question that
Okay.
whatever the reforms, this is Dr. Parag Sanghani from Gujarat. As a vice chancellor, I have one request, sir, that we have a lot of reforms coming up, but our stakeholders, students and parents, what steps UGC is taking to make them aware about these reforms, because we are facing lot of issues when we say go to the Bharatiya Bhasha, or we are trying to have internship based this thing. So what are the steps UGC is taking to make stakeholder aware about these reforms? Because we as a teacher, we have to do. Or second, teachers training, because the major resource we need is the teachers, and what are the steps UGC is taking to make these teachers? These two questions if you address.
Sir, you are a vice chancellor of a university,
Right,
right? For example, each vice chancellor in a semester, you can arrange a couple of workshops with your students, take questions and provide suitable responses to them. How many universities are doing this? How many universities are conducting workshops with the faculty and brainstorming on every reform that UGC is bringing out? I'll give you one example. The institutional development plan is one of the best frameworks that UGC has announced. Introspect yourself, how many times you conducted workshops with your faculty and then try to design an institutional development plan. And in the institutional development plan, there are many, many questions that you are asking, they are answered there. You can find solutions by implementing. And similarly, it's a very good suggestion that you have made. We have appointed what is known as NEP Sardhis. We have appointed close to about 900 NEP Sardhis. And these Sardhis, wherever I go across the country, I meet them. And they work closely with the administration and conduct various awareness programs. And we need to scale up this. Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, we have to take a break, lunch break. So we'll.
I am also available during lunchtime.
Sir will be available during lunchtime. Thank you very much, I think, for these questions. And it has been a very wonderful session. Let's have a big clap for Professor Jagadesh Kumar.
So yes, formally I would like to thank Sir, yes, for giving us insights on nearly all aspects of education. And also I would like to thank him for giving us food for thought and for making us think, introspect on the role of teachers, on our role of teachers. I would like to thank all the enlightened audience present here for giving us feedback and suggestions.
थैंक यू मैडम।
एक
महत्वपूर्ण सूचना है, आइडिया एक्सचेंज के लिए जो हमारे रिसोर्स पर्सन आए हैं, स्पीकर्स आए हैं, संस्थानों के प्रतिनिधि, वे 2:15 पर लंच के बाद सामने ही कॉन्फ्रेंस हॉल, इस सभागार के ठीक सामने कॉन्फ्रेंस हॉल है, उसमें आप सब कॉन्फ्रेंस हॉल में आ जाएंगे।